Hey there, thanks for checking out my video. I don't normally use my channel to weigh in on pro racing, but I've been a racer and a fan of professional motocross and supercross for really nearly 40 years, and I just think this idea is too solid not to share. So I want to talk a little bit about lappers. First off, supercross and motocross are professional sports. I mean, they're the pinnacle of off-road motorsports. But every year we have the same story. We lose out on some great racing at least a few times a year when leaders catch up to lappers. Nobody knows where the other guy's going. And somebody goes down, somebody gets held up for a rhythm section, they lose touch with the lead, and that's it. The race is blown. We saw it last weekend, with in a few situations with Hunter and Tomac. Tomac's life probably flashed in front of his eyes when Freeze got loose over a jump in front of him. Not Freeze's fault, but just, a racing situation. But still, it's just a bad look when you have six-digit race bonuses, $1 million championships, potentially just getting thrown out the window because of these issues that we're having with lap riders. And I mean, obviously it's a safety thing too. I don't want anybody's season to end. There's that, every Saturday night and Sunday, the pitchforks come out after these poor guys that are out there just trying to ride their race, really. And we do this every year. We just keep doing it. So, there's always these all answers, on the podcast, and I guess I'm part of the problem now if I'm offering my answer. But stay with me on this. So first off, and a lot of the solutions would really change the way the sport looks and feels. Like if you had less riders, if you were black flagging people after a certain amount of time, if you were doing, like running the headsets, okay, then somebody has to buy those, somebody has to manage those. Who's talking in your ear? Are they talking at the right time? Does that create a safety issue? There's just, it's kind of a Pandora's box. And there's the parity thing too. Can the privateer guy afford that setup? If the factory guys can, sure, but can the guy who's driving the race by himself, do that? So just a lot to consider. And the problem with all of it is all this stuff always feels complicated, all these complicated solutions. And so, I got to thinking about it and I pulled up the rule book, and I'm going to read this rule. So this is rule 1.6.14.f.2. When conditions allow, the rider receiving the blue flag must move out of the fast line. Once out of the fast line, riders must hold their line, must not ride erratically, and must not impede the progress of faster riders. So there's a few problems here. Even just the term fast line. Okay, if Eli is going 10 or 12 seconds a lap faster than these lappers, I don't mean to use Eli like I mean any of these top elite guys, if they're going that much faster, their fast line might not be what the fast line of the lap guys is. Because if you're setting up for a triple, that'd be way different than doubling out of a turn. They may be, jumping whoops instead of skimming. I mean, all these things, all this stuff's subjective. And that's part of the problem. And now, on top of that, we're talking late race. These guys probably all are max heart rate. They're just, anybody that's racing knows that your brain is not fully functioning by the end of a moto if you're going all out. And now we're asking these guys to read each other's minds on a 20-foot wide track with a huge speed differential. And again, it's the same thing keeps happening over and over and over. So this is my fix, and it's gonna, maybe it feels a little weird at first, but what if we rewrite that same paragraph? And it will say, a rider receiving the blue flag must move to the left half of the racing surface so as not to impede the progress of overtaking riders. Once clear of the overtaking riders, the rider may resume full track line selection. So, yeah, we're going to funnel the lappers over to the left half of the track. And, at first it's like, ooh, But then think, okay, the track goes left and then it goes right and it left and right. So, you're essentially creating like an artificial split lane and you're putting them over there. Now, to me, I like this because now we're not talking about what's the fast line. That this has gone from a subjective thing to an objective thing. No, if you're getting lapped, if you see that blue flag, get over or get ready to get over. I'm also not saying that they have to go as soon as they see the blue flag. What they have to do is be out of the way by the time they are caught up with. So that gives them some time, probably, to transition. And then they're expected to stay over there. So to me, this is all just simple and instinctive. Like I'm getting caught. I see a blue flag, just move over there. And either way, you still have that side of the track, right? And the guys coming up behind you know that you're going to be on that side of the track. So this whole thing it builds consistency. And again, at first you're like, well, now we're screwing these guys out of being able to choose all the lines they want, but really they're not getting to anyway. What they're doing is they're guessing, and say you're 3 deep, 4 deep into a curb, and you're guessing who's going to go where, and that just really like never ends up going well. So okay, so if it's a right hand turn, you know that the left guys are going to be up way up on the berm, and if it's a left hand turn, they're going to be down in the bottom, and everybody plans around that. And I think what this does is I think you end up actually creating a whole new little element of strategy and racecraft. And the first guy I think about in a situation like that is Cooper Webb, right? So somebody like Webb, he's a gamer. He's going to be scribbling out lines that whole race. He's going to be waiting for that lapper situation. He's going to know there to the left. He's probably been watching something over on the right this whole time. He's getting ready to dig in on somebody. Here are the lappers, and boom, he goes straight to that line that he's been watching this whole time and may not have even done. I mean, it's just kind of a scenario, but I think it actually, what it does is it takes something that used to be just chaos and drama, and now it actually turns it into something that these guys can think about and plan for. And to me, I just like that better. Here's something else cool. The lappers can keep racing on their side of the track, as the leaders are coming through, they can keep racing. It doesn't matter. They don't have to, okay, now they're trying to stop, get out of the way. Oh man, I'm gonna, screw this guy. He's gonna get mad at me. Like all this. No, they can just keep racing on their half. And as long as they don't get over into the leader side, it's fine. I also like this because you can have just cut and dry decisions like for penalties. There's no question. If somebody is blue flag and he's far right on the track and he's been there that whole time and didn't even attempt to get out of the way, yeah, you're done. You're getting rider points or fine or whatever they want to do. And I think you could even, as we're getting used to this, maybe you do some marking on the track just during the main events. You mark that middle line, and that way everybody kind of has it. You can do a chalk line or some paint or whatever on the tips of the jumps. I don't think you'd actually have to go all the way up and down the jumps, but stuff like that. So what you're doing is you're making this whole thing look a little more intentional, I guess, instead of just total chaos. Again, it's a professional sport. I don't see anything wrong with that. So why not do it? Okay, I get it. That's gonna, we want to be just out racing wherever we want. And this kind of brings in, and it feels kind of manufactured, right? Like, okay, if you're getting past, you stay to the left. But I can make a good argument that when we do restarts, when we do single, double, triple points, when we do triple crowns, when we do flags, even just flagging people, the difference between yellow and red, and I, we already have some manufactured elements in racing, and I think the bonus of this one is we get better racing and we get safer racing, and we keep these guys in the fight for the whole season instead of so much risk. I guess the other thing, yeah, okay, it does limit the line choice for leaders, but something I would point out, if you go back to the way that I wrote that rule, it doesn't say that the leaders have to go to the right. If the leader is feeling like they have a chance to thread the needle, like let's say we're in whoops and the right is your protected line as a leader, and you've got a lappers say toward the middle left. If if the leader has a line on that far left and they want to thread the needle, they can do that. That is their call. But the intent here is that the lappers are in a controlled area so that they are not going to be you, you're going to know where they are. The leaders are going to know where they are as long as they follow the rules. And I think that is a big difference. So of course you could still have, a leader come by, but I think this just prevents the chances of these guys, again, you're having to guess across the whole track where they're going to go. And here's the thing, if the leader gets over there and they get tangled up or screws up, it's tough. It's on them. If the lapper's where they're supposed to be, it is not on them whatsoever. So we can just put away the pitchforks, stop going crazy know that the leader, took a risk and it paid off or didn't pay off. So that's it. And I'm trying to think of another reason why people might not like it. Yeah, it's going to be less chaotic. It's going to be you're going to have more strategy, less chaos. I mean, I guess if you're just there because you want to watch dirt bikes crash, I guess maybe that would be not interesting to you to have ways to reduce that. But I kind of question where you are as a fan if you're just going there to watch people race. So I get that it's a pretty big change, but it still wouldn't fundamentally change the way that the racing is run. It wouldn't cost anything. It wouldn't, and it wouldn't be hard to manage. So I just, to me, in the perfect world, we would all just, have telepathy and eyes in the back of our head, and we would know, oh, okay, he'll come by here and he'll go by there, and I know that this guy's going to lay up and let me through. But right now, if a guy doesn't lay up in a corner and it hoses the whole next rhythm section for somebody in the lead pack, that race is done. These guys are at the top are so close, and the race is done, and for no reason. Something that I think this actually would prevent. So I say, let's get this fixed. Let's set us up for some great racing instead of being all mad at our privateers every weekend. I just, it may not be perfect, but to me, it just seems like such a big improvement and such an easy thing to police. Whereas now we're just making all these subjective calls. It, it just seems like a better way forward. So if you disagree, please jump in the comments. Tell me why I'm crazy. Tell me why it would never work. Maybe there's some things I'm missing. I don't know. But if you agree, hey, let's keep bringing this up. Let's talk about it in the forums. Let's, share the video if you want or talk about it on your own. But I think this would be kind of a cool way forward. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Lappers to the left.